Okay, I want to welcome everybody to today's session, which is called Natural Stress Relief with Energy Tapping. Suzanne Gundersen is our host, and my name is Jennifer Norman. I'm the founder of the Human Beauty Movement. We are an organization that is about radical self-love, radical self-acceptance, and radical self-expression. We know that beauty is an inside job and it's genderless. Beauty is for everybody. And so is wellness. And so that's why we are so delighted to bring you these kinds of workshops that support your mind, body, soul well-being. Now, I am so honored to introduce you to today's host, Suzanne. Suzanne is a certified somatic wellness educator. She has expertise in trauma release solutions that help you rewire your body and rewrite stories so that you can experience these breakthroughs, decrease symptoms that you might be feeling, and then also feel a greater sense of peace and clarity. So welcome, Suzanne. I will give you the floor.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Hello, everybody. Let's get right to it. As Jennifer mentioned, my name is Suzanne. I've been working in natural stress management for over 15 years now. I use techniques that are based in neuroscience, somatics, and energy methods. And really what my mission on the planet is to help empower people to transform their stress and reconnect with their bodies and their lives. And in my toolbox of things, I work with my clients. I have some wonderful, incredible skills that I teach. And one of them is called neuro energy tapping, which is kind of my flavor of tapping. So let's get right to the elephant in the room. What is neuro energy tapping? Well, very simply, it is a self-use acupressure technique that helps to calm the mind and relax the body. And when our mind is calm and our body is relaxed, we can experience peace, clarity, and even choice. So neuroenergy tapping, literally tapping is using your fingertips to tap on energy points. And when you do that, it sends a calming message to the brain. Now, I'm going to break down the brain into 3 areas. Let's start from the bottom up. So if you see the picture on the right, you'll see that survival brain. That's the base part of our brain. It's in the brain stem. It controls all of our automatic functions of our body. So when we're tapping, we're literally shifting how we feel and experience stress in our body. And then the second layer of our brain is our limbic brain, and that's the emotional brain. And after we begin to calm the body down, well, then we can have an opportunity to start to regulate some of the emotions that we might be experiencing from stress. And the top part of our brain is our thinking brain. It's the neocortex layer of our brain. So when we're tapping, we're literally shifting how we feel and experience our thoughts. So tapping on energy points sends this calming message to the brain and shifts how you feel and experience your body, your emotions, and your thoughts. And how it does that is it starts to send a calming message to the body-brain survival response to say, hey, we're really okay. Turns this emotional fire alarm off in the limbic system called the amygdala. And then it also starts to clear up any mental confusion and bring that thinking mind online. You know, when you're stressed out, you're just like, oh, I just can't think clearly. And then you make a decision, you go, oh, I'm going to have to redo that later. Right? So tapping can help to clear that mental confusion. So truly, tapping helps to reprogram stress into peace and wisdom. Now, there's a brilliant word out there called neuroplasticity, which just means that the body and the brain have the ability to adapt and stretch and change. And this is such good news, right? So we do not have a life sentence to our stress because our body has a natural way that it will be able to stretch and change. Now, I just want to make a little footnote here that neuroenergy tapping is my unique method. I'm going to go into it today, and not all tapping is created equal. So to give you a little bit of the history of tapping, it's been around for about 50 years. Yes, 50 years, even though there's some folks who said they're new to it. It's been around for a long time. It's based in Chinese medicine, which has been around for 5,000 years. It uses traditional acupuncture points, except you use your fingers instead of needles to engage the energy points in the body. Now, back in the 70s, Roger Callahan was the first to discover tapping. And he had a student named Gary Craig. That name might be familiar to you if you're aware of the modality called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. So Gary was the one that created EFT. And since then, there have been wonderful students of Gary's and other people who have studied energy medicine, like Tapas Fleming and Dr. Larry Nims. And then more recently, you may know Robert Smith or even Nick Ortner, the Ortner brother-sister team, Jessica and Nick Ortner. They have their yearly tapping solution. I think they just wrapped it up maybe a couple weeks ago or so. And they're really popularizing and making tapping very mainstream, not just in the US, but all over the world. Now, there are many approaches to tapping, but they all use the same energy system. And you see, tapping, as it's evolved, it's going to continue to evolve as we evolve. So let's go to stress, right? This 6-letter word we throw around. What is stress? Well, stress is the body's reaction to perception. I'm going to go a little deeper and say it's a word called neuroception. That's why I like to call this neuroenergy tapping, because perception would kind of infer that it's just the thinking mind that has everything to do with stress, when truly it's the body. And our body is a nervous system. There's nerves that are constantly aware of what's going on all 24/7, what's going on inside of us, outside of us, consciously, unconsciously. And the body detects without awareness. And awareness would mean, kind of perception. So stress is the body's reaction to neuroception. And that's not my word. That word is by Dr. Stephen Porges, who's the author of the polyvagal theory. Now, I forgot to mention you, I'm a little bit of a geeky science person. So if I say things to you, it's probably because that's part of my background. But truly, stress is the body's reaction to neuroception, because there's nerves all over the body, constantly detecting what's going on in and outside of us, consciously and unconsciously. So, have you got stress? Who doesn't these days, right? We wake up to global awareness on top of living overstimulated lives. And our stress response in our body is on. We're kind of living in a low-grade chronic stress all the time. And for that, we either may have some trauma and we're coping with some symptoms, or we're just living with chronic stress symptoms. Now, there's a couple of different types of stress, so I want to just make clear about this. I broke it down into kind of 3 areas. The first is acute stress. Now, this could be either the immediate stages of a big stress or just kind of a very short-lived stress. It's kind of like when you're driving and somebody cuts you off and you kind of swerve the car and you honk the horn. That's kind of that fast, immediate. But it also could be just the initial stages of a bigger stress. Chronic stress is this kind of stress where it's ongoing, prolonged, it's every day. I wake up to the same thing over and over again. It's not going away. That's what makes it chronic. And then there's trauma, which is something that we experience that forever changes us. And maybe that's something like a death, a loss, or even divorce. So let's get back to tapping. And there's 3 foundations of tapping. First is rooted in Chinese medicine, which just means that our bodies are energy, and we've got rivers of energy that flow from our head to our feet called meridians, and we can engage these meridian energy points with our fingertips. So the first foundation of tapping is Chinese medicine. The second is modern psychology. It's how we think and we learn and we communicate. It's by, we see things in our mind as movies or pictures, or we hear things as recorded sounds or voices or noises, or we experience things as sensations in our body. And the last is in neuroscience, meaning that our body has its own nervous system that's constantly aware of what's going on inside, outside of us, and it's developing pathways within us to survive. Our bodies are literally designed to survive. And we've got something called the vagus nerve, which is our big nerve in our body that connects all of the organs of our body to our brain. And it's the messenger. Just think of it as a kind of a super highway. It's constantly sending messages of, am I safe or am I not safe? So I want you to understand these 3 foundations of tapping. We have an energy body, we think, and we also have a body that is constantly detecting threat. And that's where I came up with the 3 M's of tapping. The 3 M's are momentum, meaning, and memory. Momentum meaning we have an energy body, right? And tapping, when we're tapping on these energy points, what it does is it helps to regulate the momentum of our energy body. Have you ever been sitting at a red light in your car and you just really want it to be green and you're like, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. You're not going anywhere, but you can experience that kind of revving up energy in your body. So tapping helps to regulate the momentum of the energy in your body, to be at a pace that personally works for you, not somebody else's pace, your personal pace. The second M of tapping is meaning. So remember our modern psychology, it's how we think and we learn and we communicate. It's our thoughts, our beliefs, and how we experience that are through pictures and sounds and sensations and stories and memories that we have. Imagine I said the word dog right now. You have a dog on your mind, right? Well, how come we're not speaking about the same dog, right? We're only speaking to ourselves based on our own internal references. Even though in common language, we agree what the word dog means. Well, my dog is a white Labradoodle. What's your dog? And how come it's not a white Labradoodle? So we think we're communicating with each other, but truly we give the unique meaning to what it is that we are experiencing based on our past references. And those come to us as pictures and movies and sounds and voices and noises and sensations in the body that we record. So when we're tapping, it helps us to detach and loosen the grip that we have on that specific meaning, to realize that there are lots of different ways to define whatever it is that we're talking about, and that we've given that specific meaning, and that may be causing us stress. And the last M of tapping is memory. And I don't mean memories. I mean patterns and programs and routines that live in your nervous system. Now, when you go to the grocery store, when you get in your car to go to the grocery store, do you plug into the GPS? Hey, take me to the grocery store. No, you just get in the car and you go. Well, how do you know how to get there? It's because your body is wired to remember how to get to the grocery store. You don't have to look it up every time like it's a new thing. So the same thing happens when our bodies are stressed. It remembers, it creates patterns, and it gets hardwired to do the same thing over and over and over again to survive. So when we're tapping, what we're doing is we are tapping to relax the survival pathways that are in memory in your nervous system. So when we're tapping, we're always regulating the momentum of the energy body, detaching from any specific meaning that may have us stressed, struggling, or stuck. And we're also helping to relax some of those memorized pathways in the body so that we can open up to new pathways. So let's get right to start unpack some of the tapping points. Now, I mentioned that our bodies are energy because we are energy. And we've got these rivers of energy that flow from our head to our feet called meridians. Now, there are hundreds of points all over the body, and they're all interconnected. Now, if you've seen tapping before, there may be more points than I'm showing you here on this graph on the right side. These are the ones I like to use because these are the main fight or flight points. But if you know more points, use more, use them. They're all interconnected. So we're going to practice this together. I want you to take your 2 fingers, either hand, it doesn't matter. I want you to start tapping between your eyebrows, right at that eyebrow point. We're just practicing. You're going to tap on each point about 5 to 10 times. And I want you to hear a patting sound. Hear that patting sound. Then you're going to take your same 2 fingers and tap on the side of the eye. Hear that patting sound. You're going to tap about 5 to 10 times. Now, yes, you can use both sides if you want to. Don't get fancy on me. You can switch hands if one gets tired. Not a big deal. The next point is under the eye. You're going to tap about 5 to 10 times. And then I like to take all 4 fingers of one hand minus the thumb and just get a nice bounce on both collarbones. Hearing that patting sound. And you're going to take one hand and squeeze the opposite wrist a few times. And then you're just going to breathe. Bonus points for the audible exhale. So that's technically the tapping points that we're going to be using while we're tapping. But what are we doing when we're tapping, right? It's the momentum, meaning, and memory that we're going to be shifting. So before we get into tapping, I want to make sure everybody stays safe on this training call. And for that, I want us to go and find a good reference of something that makes us feel really good. Your best feeling, your favorite memory, whatever it is. I just invite you right now to go find something that makes you feel really nice and peaceful and wonderful. And if you can't think of anything, then maybe look at some of the pictures that are on the screen and maybe just lean into one and say, oh, I really like those feathers that are floating. Oh, I really like those easy clouds in the sky. And just find your favorite memory. Find your favorite feeling. Doesn't have to be a big deal. For me, I like the feeling like when I shave my legs in the shower and I go into bed and I feel that smoothness between like the sheets and my legs. Like I like that feeling. So it doesn't have to be like a big event. Just find something that makes you feel nice. And when you're there, focus on the best part of it and make that a 10 on a scale of 0 to 10. If 0 means meh, and 10 means, oh, this is wonderful, make it a really wonderful, big, strong experience that you're having. Then give it a little movie title. Maybe you just call it Ease and Flow, or maybe you call it whatever you want to. Just give it a little tiny movie title to this wonderful feeling. And while you're there, something at least higher than a 6, feeling really strong and wonderful, squeeze your wrist a few times and just say, peace, 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 ease and flow, or whatever you named the title of your best feeling. And then I want you to remember this best feeling because we're going to come back to this. Okay. Now I teach tapping in 4 easy steps. Step number 1 is I want you to notice something that bothers you. And please do not pick the lifelong argument you've had with someone in your life. Let's pick something easy, something that stands out right now that might be bothering you. And I'm going to ask you, how do you know this bothers you? How do you know that it bothers you? It's not happening right this red hot minute, right? I mean, where is it? Maybe you're seeing pictures in your mind. Maybe you're watching a movie in your mind. Maybe you're not seeing anything. You're only hearing sounds. You go, oh yeah, that tone of voice, that person's voice, what they said, I've never forgot it. Or maybe you're just feeling sensations in the body, tightness, tension, temperature, whatever you might be noticing. So step number 1 of tapping is notice something that bothers you and how you know it bothers you. And step number 2 is give that experience that you're having an intensity number on a scale of 0 to 10. And I want you to find something that's at least a 6. If 0 means, oh, it doesn't bother me, and 10 is like, it really bothers me, find something that's at least a 6. Step number 3, go to the part that stands out the most. Oh yeah, that's what they look like. It's what they said to me, how I felt. Go to the part that stands out the most. So notice something that bothers you, give it an intensity number, go to the part that stands out the most. And while you're there, if you're at least a 6 or higher, let's tap together. Take your 2 fingers and start tapping between your eyes. And you're going to repeat out loud after me and say, this thing that bothers me, it really, really bothers me. And then tap on the side of the eye, this thing that bothers me. Everyone that's involved, what they said, what they did, what they didn't say, what they didn't do. And then tap under your eye, this thing that bothers me. Letting my body calm down now. Letting go of all the meaning I've given this. Helping my body relax. And then tap on your collarbone, this thing that bothered me. I'm willing in this moment to let it go because I deserve peace. And then take one hand and squeeze the opposite wrist a few times. Take a nice breath, blow it out, say the word clear, and then go to that happy memory, that wonderful feeling memory. For me, I like to float. I just like to go into the ocean and float. Maybe see a feather drop. Go enjoy your wonderful your wonderful memory. Just feel nice and relaxed. And while you're there, squeeze your wrist a few times. Say your little movie title word for that wonderful feeling, or peace, 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 whatever it is that you named. And then go back to the thing that was bothering you. So I would like to invite everybody to pop into the chat. What number did you start with? And what number are you now? Maybe it was an 8, and now it's 6. Maybe it was 10, and now it's 5. Great, so it was a 7, now it's a 5. Great. 7, now a 4. Started with a 10, now a 7. That's great. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? What tapping does is it helps us to start to harmonize within our momentum, meaning, and memory, how to have whatever we experience, whatever stress we experience, land within us with much more peace and wisdom. Because we don't ever let anything go. We just learn how to integrate it, to sit within us so that it's not triggering us so badly. So thank you all for sharing. A 6 to a 3, an 8 to a 6, an 8 to a 6, 10 to a 7, 8 to 5. This is great. Yes, for chronic health conditions that cause pain, keep tapping on the how you know, on every single detail until it starts to harmonize within you. So here's a little bit about what we just did, right? We just tapped as number 1 here. We noticed our stress, how we know our stress. We gave it an intensity number. We focused on the part that stands out. We tapped and we said, kind of let it go. And then we went to our best feeling thought. And now I invite you to see what's left. So some people have 5, 6s, 3, 6, 7s left. What's left? How do you know what's left? So let's go to whatever's left. Aim all your focus at how you know there's something left. It's not gone yet, right? How do you know? Yes, I'm going to go over what the specific tapping points mean. Go to whatever's left. How do you know what's left? Put all your aim and focus there, and then take your 2 fingers and tap between your eyebrows and repeat out loud after me and say, it's still there. I haven't let it go. It's got a lot of momentum. It's got a lot of meaning I've attached to it. It's still in my body. And then tap on the side of the eye. There's something left. It still bothers me. And I'm willing in this moment to loosen my grip on it a little more. And then tap under your eye. There's still something bothering me. And I'm letting it go. Because it's safe to let it go. I deserve to let it go. And I'm willing in this moment to let it go. And then tap on your collarbones. Don't make me let it go. But I'm still willing to let it go. And then grab your wrist, squeeze it around a few times, take a nice breath, blow it out, say the word clear, and then go over to that wonderful memory again and just go enjoy some peace, whatever it is for you. Go relax and enjoy that wonderful feeling. And then go back to the thing that was bothering you. And now what's your number? Maybe those 3s or 2s, or those 5s or 1s, or 6s or 0s. And pop that into the chat and tell us, how are you doing now? And by the way, as you're experiencing these shifts, it may feel like a little tingly sensation in your body. You might notice in yourself feeling more physically relaxed. You might notice your breath being kind of like spontaneous, like a nice giant inhale is happening for you. Maybe you're yawning, sighing. These are all great signs that the body is shifting from states of threat and moving into states of safe connection again. Great. So Phyllis says she's down from a 5 to a 3. Now we're at a 3, probably lowered a little bit more to a 2. Great. And this is the process. Now, You may have a lot of momentum, meaning, and memory attached to this thing that you're bothered about. And so how do you resolve this? You go back and forth between this stress and the best feeling. You tap, let it go, and then notice whatever's left. And you go right to that resistant part of you, that part that says, oh, I don't know if I can let this go. This was a big deal. But you put your own story to it. I'm just giving you some general high level words. Imagine if you were really unpacking this at a very specific level. You really could start to get to the root a lot faster. Thank you for sharing all your numbers. We're down to like 3s and 2s and 4.5. So this is great, right? So notice whatever's left. You still have more to go. We're not at zeros yet, right? And now your job is to aim. You've got to aim at how you know. How do you know it's a 4.5? How do you know it's a 3? How do you know it's a 2? How do you know? What's standing out? Maybe it's a picture. Maybe it's a sound. Maybe it's a sensation. Whatever it is, put all your focus and awareness on this, right? And then take your 2 fingers and tap between your eyes and say, I haven't let it go. It's still there. How I know it's still there. It just is. And then tap on the side of the eye. It's still there. And I still deserve peace. So I'm willing to let a little bit more of it go. And then tap under your eye. Safe to let it go. I deserve to let it go because I deserve peace. And then tap on your collarbone. Just letting it go now from every cell of my body. And then grab your wrist and squeeze it a few times. Take a nice breath. Blow it out. Say the word clear. And pop on over to your happy memory. Feel really good in your happy memory. Enjoy your happy memory there just for a minute and just sink into that happy feeling. Feel the relief. And then go back to the thing that was bothering you and notice what's left. What's left? And you might have to go back and forth a couple of times, right? And so this is my neuro energy tapping. I call it the 3RP method. What's 3RP? Well, it's my lazy way of trying to find a name to represent resolve, release, reframe, and project. 3 R's and a P. 3RP. So the first layer of what we're doing when we're tapping is we're resolving. What are we resolving? We're resolving how we know our stress, right? And then when we get to that next layer of like, oh, there's still some left. Well, then we're releasing. What are we releasing? Resistance. Oh, it's not safe to do it differently. It's not possible. I'm not worthy. So we're tapping to release the resistance. And you'll see at the bottom of this screen, there's an arrow that goes back and forth between resolve and release. So you might have to go back and forth a couple of times in order to get to a 0 or a 1. And once you're there, once you're at a 0 or a 1, then you can start to open up to reframing, the experience you had differently into more peace and wisdom. Now, this is not going to be something you have to think of. It's just going to happen for you, right? So I'm going to tell you a short story here that I worked with a client many years ago. I've been tapping for almost 20 years. This is a long time ago. We were tapping in the early days of tapping, and she was a cancer survivor and started to see hospice signs everywhere that she was driving around. And she was so triggered by the word hospice, she thought to her that the word hospice was a death threat. So we began to tap on the meaning, the momentum, meaning, and memory that she had in her, energy body, in her mind, and in her nervous system about what hospice meant to her. And we start tapping on it to neutralize it. And at some point in the tapping, we kind of transpose the word hospice to spicy hoe, and forget it, that we just burst out in laughter. We just couldn't be threatened any longer by the word hospice. And yet to her, it was a death sentence, and she left completely liberated. So the reframing will happen naturally for you once you resolve and release the stress that you're experiencing and the momentum, meaning, and memory that's unique to your body. So someone asked before about the energy points. So here we're going to go. So the eyebrow point is the bladder meridian, and it represents emotional trauma. The side of the eye is the gallbladder meridian. It represents anger. Under the eye is the stomach meridian, represents anxiety. On the collarbone is the kidney meridian. It represents fear. And when you grab your wrist, you get all the meridians that run along the top of your arm and the bottom of your arm out to your fingertips. And each of the fingers have a different energy meridian organ and a different emotional meaning. But if you notice, the ones I've got in blue here, the ones we tap on, the eyebrow, the side eye, under eye, collarbone, these are the biggies when it comes to the fight or flight, right? Emotional trauma, anger, anxiety, and fear. And that's why I like to use those. But again, there's hundreds of energy points. You know more, use more. Okay. So what can tapping shift? It can shift a lot of things. Certainly can help to relax anxiety, build confidence, helps with lots of different kinds of stress: mom stress, family stress, relationship stress, work stress, financial stress, health stress. Can help you overcome and transform any kind of trauma that you might have experienced as well, and relieve any chronic stress symptoms. So many things. And how to do that? Well, in the moment of your triggers, anytime, anywhere, you can use tapping to calm that internal chaos, like on demand. So take that state of stress, combine it with some tapping. All you really have to ever say, if you want to say anything, is let it go. And it begins to kind of harmonize our body and our brain to be more relaxed and peaceful, which is what allows us to have an experience of more peace and open us up to new choices. So here's some tips about tapping. Number one, please be willing and persistent. Your deepest stresses did not develop overnight, and they're not going to unfold, in an instant. They're going to unfold in layers, just like you saw layers from a 10 to a 7 to a 4, a 4 to a 2, a 2 to a 1. But be persistent. And repetition anchors change. So just keep going. And then also aim at the worst part, the part that stands out the most. You want to get to the part that is the root of what's holding this together. So we have to press on the pain just a little bit to get as close to that root as possible. Now you might say, why are we saying all this negative stuff? Why aren't we being positive out in the world? Well, positive affirmations are nice, but have they ever given you what you wanted? And the reason why they don't is because you have to clear the negative enough to make room for the positive to actually stick. If you're driving around with a full tank of gas, you wouldn't go to the gas station. Where are you going to put the gas? You've got to empty out the gas tank first before you can input with intention the positive things that you want. Now, I suggest making tapping a daily habit, maybe every afternoon when you've been, up for a few hours and life is a little bit, stressful. Maybe you just tap in the afternoon, just say, let it go. Just all the stress of the day so far, just let it go. And then when you do it as a habit, it starts to remind you to use tapping when you're stressed. Now, how long do you tap for? Well, technically you're going to tap for, about 5 to 10 times per point. But you want to do it until you experience a little bit of shift. Remember, I was mentioning about the tingly sensation and the yawning and the sighing and the swallowing and the sense of relaxation in your body. So you want to tap until you feel a little bit of relief. And then if something has a lot of momentum, meaning, and memory, then you just take a break from it and go about your day, and you can come back to do a little bit more of it later. Another tapping tip that's so important is to use your words. There's a lot of tapping scripts out there on YouTube, and follow me along and buy my tapping script. Look, your word is your wand, meaning it's your dog. It's not my dog. I could sit here all day long and tell you my stories in my words, but that's not going to help you. So if you're really struggling with something, I'd say write down a short story about it, as much description as you have in the words that you use, and tap on that story. Tap on that story, and you'll be able to loosen the grip and shift some of that momentum, meaning, and memory. Now, is it working? Well, please don't take score too soon. We just live in this instant gratification globe, right now, where it's like, I want it now. Remember that there's symptoms that you may be experiencing that'll help you know that you're going in the right direction. Now, again, not all tapping is the same. There's a variety of approaches that are out there. Again, they use the same energy system, but I'm just not a big fan of the old traditional EFT, where you tap on the side of the hand and you say, even though I have this problem, I love and accept myself, because a lot of people don't love and accept themselves, which I understand. This world is very tough. So I like my approach. It's kind of what I've come to over the last, 20 years of tapping. But if you like the other methods, just start tapping, because it's only going to help you feel a little bit better. And then also, work with a certified professional if you're interested in really getting to the deeper layers of the roots of your issues. Even the best surgeons in the world can't operate on themselves. Right. So think of tapping as kind of a meditation, right? You can do tapping to kind of let it go. Then you can anchor tapping in some positive ways. I'm always safe, I'm always secure, because tapping helps us to resolve that stress response. It supports quality meditation. It neutralizes any kind of subconscious tail enders. Like when you say, I love myself, how does that stand inside of you? Maybe you go, no, not today. I didn't call my mother back yesterday. I'm really mad at myself. Or not today. I ate that chocolate cake I shouldn't have. Or not today. I didn't do as well as I wanted to on this. We're just so hard on ourselves. So tapping helps to kind of neutralize any of those subconscious tail enders that we automatically fill in when we say things like positive affirmations. So try and make tapping a daily habit. So I'm going to take some questions now. I know there's been a little bit of a backlog of questions here. I don't know, Jennifer, if you've been responding to some or not. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. I'm going to go back a little bit. And thanks everybody for volunteering all their numbers. Very brave of you. Thank you. Okay, Bonnie asks, do we need to tap on both sides of the eyes underneath both eyes and squeeze one or both wrists? So great question. You can tap on both sides if you'd like. It's not required. You have an energy system, and when you start tapping on one point, it's going to start to build that flow and momentum for that energy to be moving. So if you want to tap on both sides, you can, but you don't have to. So Ray asks, how can I get it to a 0 when the said problem is still happening in reality, right? So that's a chronic stress issue, right? Something that's just not resolving. But what you can resolve, Ray, is how you experience that stress. Some people can stay relaxed in the face of that. And some people have, or maybe it's triggering you to make a change that you need to make that you're just not making yet. We won't know until you start to tap a little bit more to find out, where's the resistance? I can't change this. Well, if you can't change it, what can you do to change? Maybe it's, how do can I feel differently about it? Can I see this differently? So if it's something that's ongoing, then it's you who has to shift your perspective about how you are experiencing that stress within the context of the momentum, meaning, and memory that you have about that experience. And you'll have to make a choice, whether it's something you want to continue doing, allowing yourself to be subjected to it and allow it to keep happening to you, or doing something different. Kelly asks, is it realistic to aim for a 0? Actually, what you're aiming for is peace. You're aiming for peace. You want more relaxation. Life is constantly going to be up and down. We're overstimulated with stress. I don't know if 0 is a sustainable place to be in the bigger picture of things, but we want it to be manageable. Things where we're like, okay, I get it, and not to be so triggered that we're kind of like, off into the bushes. So great question. Let's see, Bonnie asks again, tap on both sides. Yep, we did that one. Okay. Okay, Mickey asks if in EFT, it doesn't matter if you tap on both sides, but we don't hold the wrist. Okay, he's helping somebody answer. Okay. Yep, love Brad Yates. He's wonderful, but also caution because he does a lot of tapping scripts in his own words and you want to use your own meaning. Yes, the Ortners use several more tapping points. Doesn't make a difference. Look, you've got one body and it has an energy system. I like to use the points that I was sharing with you. Let me go back to that slide. I think it's this one. No, I think it's it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. In fact, some of the other energy, the other points that they use aren't even energy meridians. They use governing vessels and central vessels of the energy system. But it's all one energy system. It's all interconnected. So if you know more points, then use them. You can't mess this up. You just can't. You can use one side, both sides. You just want to stimulate the energy body to get that energy flowing. Let's see, Nikki asked, do you think it will work for MS symptoms? For example, when I'm feeling a little tingly in my body, I'm holistic. Yes, wonderful, Nikki. Yeah, aim at the symptoms that you're having one at a time. Don't do too many at a time. Focus on whatever is the worst that's happening in the moment and just breathe while you're tapping through those points and see if some of that experience you're having starts to lift and shift, or maybe you'll get more information about where to start targeting, aiming for your tapping. But yes. Okay. Waiting questions. Mickey asked something. This might be a silly question, but can the points go to the other? You start off with saying 5, but find that it's going to a 6 or a 7. Right. So, oh, good point, Mickey. So sometimes you think it's a 5, but then when you start tapping on it and you're really aiming at the issue, you might realize, hey, this is pretty strong. It's our willingness to go and address our problems that kind of helps them process and move through us. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Great. So again, remember the 4 easy steps to tapping. Notice something that bothers you. Give that an intensity number on a scale of 0 to 10. Find something that's at least higher than a 6. Go to the part that stands out the most and tap on the energy points to regulate the momentum, meaning, and memory behind what's got you stressed and struggling and stuck, until you start to feel a little bit of some of the shifts, like the tingling, the breathing, the yawning, the sighing. Wonderful. So thank you so much for being a part of our class today. Jen, I don't know if you want to take it over.
Yeah, thank you, Suzanne, for those amazing tips. I want to address Ray's point because I think that this is also an important one too. A lot of times things happen in life and we feel a little bit helpless, or, there's like large things happening in our world. A lot of people feel helpless and it creates this stress and this anxiety. And in societies where this keeps happening over and over again, it builds up and we feel helpless. The thing that tapping is going to help resolve is our relationship to those incidences. It's going to help us to separate the fact that these things happen. Events can be, strangely enough, considered neutral. It's really our reaction to it. And when you're able to tap or use various modalities that help to manage your stress response, you get into a place where, number one, you can handle it a little bit more, that it's not getting somatically in your body and causing you to have ailments and restrictions and overwhelm. You're able to feel more peace, even despite all of these things happening. And then what that does is it helps you to be more creative. It helps you to offer up solutions. It helps you to get into the place where you can overcome and be on top of things and be in more control. So that's what these sorts of things are helping to do. May not necessarily be helping to address the initial thing, like these things that are happening right here and right now that are happening in our presence, but our relationship to what is happening is really the only thing that we can control. And when we can change ourselves, then we can in turn change the world. So I do want to just once again thank everybody for coming today. And on that note, I just want to wish everybody a wonderful, wonderful day and an amazing week. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.